Hello and welcome back to my channel. It's Samantha back here with another cute little video. So I hope you guys are all okay. Straight into it today, and I thought we would have a look at some interesting and decorative ear wires. Now these guys are perfect for most needs, aren't they? And we make these ourselves, no doubt, because it's more cost effective. And it's nice to have handmade, isn't it? However, if you want something a little bit more woohoo and a little bit more flourished, then let's have a look at 8 cute ways to add some decorativeness to, is that a word? Decorativeness? Anyway, decorativeness to your ear wires. So we're going to go through these 8 guys here. Some you may have seen before, some you may have not. And this is just my little collection of fun ear wires. Okay, so let's get straight into it. My opinion, and it's only my opinion, is that the best gauge for ear wires universally is 0.8 millimeter, which is 20 gauge. Now I think that this particular gauge fits through most ears pretty well, so my suggestion is that you use 0.8. If you're a beginner here and you've never made them before, this is what I would recommend. You'll need some flush cutters, as always, for the obvious reasons. You're going to need some either round nose pliers or 6-step bail making pliers. I use 6-step because I like the consistency, and mine are 2 to 9 increments. Okay, so 2 millimeter, 3, 4, 5, 7 and 9, I believe. Right, what else are you going to need? You're going to need some chain nose. So I use various different ones, needle nose, chain nose, whichever you want. Just these guys here. For this little spiral embellished one here, it's best if you have some nylon jaw pliers, okay, because we're going to be doing some squishing and you don't want to mar your wire. All right, so anything else? For the beaded one, just a little bead, seed bead, you know, I don't know, a semi-precious bead, whatever you want, or indeed something that will match the dangle that you're going to put on the end of it. Okay, and for these little tiny ones that have got a little bit of what do they call it, a coil attached, you're going to need some 26 gauge, I think it is, 0.4 copper wire or wire of your choosing. Okay, so let's get into it, and I'll clear the table and we'll go through these guys. See you in a few. So on to number 1. To make this trefoil style one here, you're going to need 8 centimeters of this wire, 0.8 millimeter, which is 20 gauge. Okay, so we'll hoof through these so that I'm not boring the pants off everybody. So you're going to need 8 centimeters, give or take, which corresponds to 3 1/8 of an inch on here. Okay, all the measurements I'm giving are approximate, obviously, so cut your wire. So here's our wire. All right, first thing you need to do is to bring in your bail making pliers, or indeed your round nose if you're proficient in those, which I'm not. So in order to make the little trefoil here, I'm going to be using the 2nd step on my plier. All right, so quickly pop your wire at the end of your plier. I'm a poet and I don't know it. I amuse myself. Bend the wire around so that you have this. Remove the plier, and with the loop facing upwards, place the end of the plier around 2 to 3 millimeters away from where the end of this loop finishes. And then wind your wire around again so that you are left with this here. And we just want to make another loop on this side. All right, so again, place it 2 to 3 millimeters. Instead of going over the top this time, we want to go underneath, like so, so that we have this affair here. All right, so the next thing you need to do is to bring this wire upwards. So all you need to do is to come in with your chain nose and grab your wire around about here and bend it upwards. Now, if you can hear some noises in the background, I have neighbours who are having work done, so I'm hoping it won't be too disturbing for everybody. All right, so here's our wire going upwards. You come back in with your 6-step plier. Now with this wire underneath, you take the 5th step of your plier away from you, place your wire around this kind of area. All right, and then literally, very simply, bend the wire around the mandrel like so. And that's your thing made, your ear wire made thing. Have you heard me? So if you need to, just come in and just straighten things up slightly, which you often have to do. Nothing is ever perfect. All right, so you can leave it as it is. I come in with a cup burr and just, or an emery. I won't do that because you know what to do, and just to file down the ends. All right, so I just put a little lip in, like so. Just makes it easier to get in the ear. So you can either leave it bare, like so, or you can, if you can see, put a little coil on. Now all I do with the coil is take a small piece of a scrap 0.8 wire and come in with a little scrap, or cut yourself a very small piece of 0.4, which is 26 gauge. And all you do when you're making both earrings is to make sure you have an equal amount of wraps. All right, so just count your wraps. So how many have we got there? 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think 10's good. Push them up so they're nice and tight, like so. Then just chop off your excess, like so. That's good. Mind your eyes, of course. Then come in with your pliers and then just tighten. Not too much because you want it to slip off this wire here. This is just a base wire to create the form around, like so. Pull this little guy off, like a little tiny coil. And then just place it onto your wire. In fact, you could probably do this before you bend it if you like. Doesn't matter to me either way. And then just bob it on. So it gives it a little bit more interest, as you can see here. All right, so we have a matching pair. So that's number 1. Okay, number 2, here we go. So this is the swan link, or whatever it's called, but I think it works really, really well as an ear wire. All right, so again, you're going to want to take some 0.8 wire, and for this one, you're going to need around about 7 centimeters. I'm trying really hard, guys, not to waste wire these days. I know I can be a little bit wasteful with my wire, so I've made a few of these for this video, and I've tried to work out exactly how much you're going to need, give or take. All right, so don't shout at me. So to make this guy here, you're going to need to take your bail making pliers again, and I'm using the 1st step this time, to make this little spiral. All right, so you take your wire, the end of your plier, and you want to be winding it around the 1st step to make the beginnings of your spiral. Okay, then you come in with your chain nose, very, very lightly and gently move this guy around so that your wire is, the center of your wire is parallel with this wire here. All right, then come in with your plier and place it, butt it up against the spiral like so, and then bend around your plier like so. So you have this kind of affair here. All right, and then wind it around. You hold this guy with your thumb and your finger, and then just wind it around so that this chap here is like so. All right, now if you wanted to make these left and right so that they are opposing, you know, like it's difficult to say a matching pair, but for earrings, you know, you want them to be not in the same direction, I think. So just work that out for yourself. So because I've done it around one way, I will then bend this guy that way, if that makes sense, and I'll show you in a second. So just come in with your plier and bend your wire up like so. Really, really simple, but beautifully effective. All right, so as you can see here, those coils, those are facing in the opposite direction. All right, and again, 5th step on my plier, place it around about so, oops, okay, and then just bend it around like so. Use your cup, your burr or your little file. I'm not going to do it here because it's time consuming and boring to watch. And there we have our, you can hang your little dangles off the end of there. All right, so that's number 2. Number 3, all right, so this is just a basic wire wrap loop, and you can hammer this guy here to put a little bit of texture on it if you wanted to. So this guy, I would suggest you take, I don't know, about 7.5, 8 centimeters, just to make sure that you've got enough. So let's go for 8. You probably get away with a slightly less than that, but let's just have a go. All right, make sure you flush cut both your ends. That's not flush cut, but I'll just give it a bit of a snip. There we go. All right, so about, I don't know, is that a third? About a third of the way down. Literally, you're making a wire wrap loop. I'm using the 3rd step on my plier, but you can use any size you like, big ones, tiny ones, whatever takes your fancy, and whatever suits the piece that you're making. So it's essentially just a wire wrap loop, which we know how to make, and then just wind this guy around. I do it twice and then back underneath for one more. Like so. Oh, you can probably hear my dog snoring. Heavens above glory. Anyway. And then we come in and we tighten this loose bit up here just to make it nice and neat. All right, and straighten this guy up. So actually, let me just alter that slightly. All right, so it's gone a bit misshapen, but that's because I'm on camera and the camera doesn't care. And then you come back in with your 5th step or your 6th step, depending upon the look that you want. And for me, I've gone, I don't know, maybe about, I don't know, what is that? Let's just double check. Just for those of you guys who like measurements. About 5, 6, 7 millimeters up the wire. Like so. And all you need to do now is to bend this around. There you go, slightly too much, but it depends on the look that you want. You know, sometimes you want a longer look, sometimes you want a shorter one. All right, so all you have to do is just snip that to length. Again, cut burr the end of it and pop a lip on and just straighten this out. All right, so you can make this guy as long as you like, short as you like, hammer it, don't hammer it, whatever. All right, so that's number 3. So we'll go on for number 4 now. Number 4, let's have a look. This guy here. This is very, very pretty in the ear, and you'll obviously dangle your little dangle or your ear your earring piece from here. All right, so for this one, you're going to need around about 6 centimeters. Now we don't want too much, do we? So here we go. So let's just cut off, flush cut the end, like so. 6 centimeters, give or take. Again, all of these measurements are relatively approximate. I'm just going to do 6.5 just to be on the safe side. Better to have just slightly too much than not enough, in my opinion. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that this end is flush cut, which it is. And you come in with the first step of your plier to make this little guy here. So wind it around like so. All right. Then come in with the second step. You want to be turning this the opposite way. You come in with the second step with the loop facing towards you, like so, and bend this guy around like so, so that you have this. All right. So I'm going to be using the 5th step for my hook. So again, you place it in the opposite direction because we want this to be coming round here. So butt this guy up as far as it will go and bend around like so. And that is your flourished ear wire. So obviously you want it to be the same length. So if you're making these, do 2 at a time, place one on top of each other like so, and then cut them both at the same time. Obviously I'm just making these for demonstration, but with most of these you can cut them at the same time so that you've got the same length. All right, and then just put a little lip on it. All right, so you can dangle your earrings from here. All right, so that's number 4. They're really pretty, aren't they? Very simple too. All right, so I'll just keep those out of the way so that we're not having any problems with focusing this week. This is a really pretty little ear wire, and I like the fact that you can change the beads and do whatever you like on those. Okay, so again, let's have a look. Here we go. So for number 5, again, cut, I don't know, a decent amount off, like so, probably about 5 centimeters for this one. You don't need an awful lot because you're not doing a huge amount of flourishes or anything like that on it. So you come in with your first step or your second, or however you want it to look. These are just ideas, don't forget. So we make a little P shape like so. And then what I tend to do is come in with my bead and then a little wire spiral. So again, take a little bit of your wire. Now on this one I used 7 wraps, so I'm going to replicate the same thing. So anchor your wire, squish it up, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Okay, back underneath for 7, squish things up nice and neatly. All right, and then just chop off your excess. And I'll use that for another piece. None of this gets wasted. So chop them off nice and neatly. Okay, and then just tighten each end just to make it nice and neat and not sharp, because we don't like sharp in the ear. And then just slide that off. So you've got a tiny little coil here. All right, so let's pick a bead. This is just for demonstration. So I always think turquoise and greens look really well with copper. But again, you can use any wire you like for these, as long as you make sure that it actually fits on your 0.8 millimeter wire. All right, so pop your bead on like so. Pop your little coil on, which I'll have to do with my Mrs. Magoo eyes. There we go. That's not too bad. All right, so that you have this. Then you come in with the 5th step or the 6th step of your plier, place your wire thus with the loop facing towards you and literally bend it round. So you can coordinate the bead with whatever piece you're making. A little bit too much there, Sammy, again, but never mind. I'll use that for something else. Again, you know, file the end and put a little lip on it, which I think makes them look just a little bit more professional. And there you have your little beaded ear wire. Aren't those sweet too? Okay, so that's number 5. So move those out of the way. Let's go for number 6. All right, so this guy is cute. And you can use this for interchangeable. So if you know, if you're selling at a fair or a market or whatever, these interchangeable earrings are really quite popular. I found so in the past when I used to sell things, because you can make various different dangles, and all the purchaser has to do is just remove them, put them back on. You know what I'm saying, don't you? So you could sell these with various different types of droplets on them. All right, so let's go ahead and make this guy here. So again, in with your 20 gauge. And for this, I'd suggest around about 8 centimeters, I think, something like that, which again is around 3 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so let's go for this one. Make sure all of your ends are flush cut for neatness. All right, so I'm using the first step to start the spiral off. But this spiral isn't a tight spiral, okay? It's a loose one, so you need a little bit more relaxing of the wrist when you're making this one. So come in with the first step and bend it around, but don't let it meet this wire here. All right, so you don't want to close that loop up because we're going to be making a looser and we don't want it to misshape. All right, so as you're going along and around, all right, make it a looser spiral. So just sort of bend your wire around in a spiral, but don't touch, try not to let it touch the wire, because you need you know, you need space for your dangles to go on, if that makes sense. All right, you can adjust as you go to about here. So as you can see there, we've got a matching spiral. All right, so the next thing we need to do, I think did I use the 6th step on this one? I did. Okay, so I used the 6th step on this particular one here, and I placed it about here. All right, if you make these the same size on all of your pieces, then when you butt your plier up against, you'll find that they are consistent. They should be anyway. I'm hoping that they are. Yeah, there you go. All right, so again, if you're making these in pairs, don't put the little lip on, just place one on top of the other, like so, and chop the wire at the same time so that you get the same length. All right, so, but for this, I'm just going to give it a chop here, and again, put a little lip on it. All right, so there is my matching pair of cute little spirals that you can dangle little dangles off. All right, so that's number 6. Only 2 to go, guys. Wow, we're going quite quickly through these. Right, so the next one I thought was quite sweet is this one here. So it's a variation on this, but we've got a little bit of wrapping to be done. All right, so let's go through this one. Again, with your wire. I've worked out that this guy in this particular size, obviously these are just ideas, so you can go ahead and experiment with the sizes and the lengths and those kind of things yourself. Like with everything, these are all open to interpretation. All right, so take about 6 centimeters of your wire. You don't need a huge amount for this one. So you want to come in with the very, very tip of your plier, because we're going to be making this little loop here, and it's a squished loop, it's not an open one. All right, so bend this around like so till you get to about here. Okay, and then we squish, squish, squish very gently. All right, so that we have this little thing here. The next thing we want to do is to come in with the first step of your plier, and again we want to be leaving a little loop. All right, so I would suggest that you place your plier, I don't know, about 5 millimeters like so, and bend so that we have this here. All right, then what you need to do is to come in and squish very gently together like so, so that you leave a little loop. That's for your dangle, like so here. All right, so that we have this. That's a little shorter than that one, but it doesn't matter for demonstration. Come in with, let's use this other little tiny piece of wire, and you just want to wrap the wire around like so. Okay, keep everything nice and tight. Wrap, wrap, and wrap around till you're happy, like so. Yep, happy with that. So like I say, it's not quite matching, but when you do them all at the same time, they'll be matching. Chop the little ends off like so. Mind your eyes as always, and then just give that guy a little squish just to get the ends out of the way, like so. Okay, the next thing we need to do is obviously put our little hook. So again, 5th step, put this guy up against your wire, your pliers, and come round. All right, and that's all there is to it for that one. Real simple. Again, like I said before, if you're going to make these in pairs, then just do them at the same time so that they match. All right, that one's just slightly longer than that one, but you know, you get the picture. So that's number 7. Okay, so for the last one, let's hoof into the last one, shall we? This guy, where are you? There it is. How cute is that? So you've got a little bit of a spiral flourish here, which you can suspend your little dangle off the end of there. I just think that these are really cute. Okay, so you're going to need 10 centimeters of wire to make this one, because you are doing a bit of spiraling. We all do a bit of a spiral now and again, don't we? We all spiral now and again, particularly me. All right, then let's have a look at this. So 10 centimeters of wire, give or take. Give or take. All right, so come in with your pliers. So you want to make 5 wraps around your second step. All right, so we start off at the end like so, and we wrap around. Now I go underneath. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. All right, so they're just do it so that this meets the end of this wire here, where this wire ends. There is a little bit of tweaking to be done in a bit, so don't worry too much. So we have this. The next thing we do is to take your chain nose and bend this guy. I think it's perpendicular. Is that the right word? I'm not too sure. So that we have a coil at the end of a straight length of wire, like so. Now then, what we need to start doing is come in with your fingers, if they're strong enough, and if they're not strong enough, come in with your little nylon jaw pliers. And what we're trying to do is to flatten this guy in that direction, so that the end of the wire should end up at the bottom. All right, so let's see if I can do this on camera. without it going pear-shaped, literally pear-shaped. So we squish, squish very gently with lots of control. So we want to be making this flat. All right, if you get to the point where you need to come in with your little pliers, then do so, because you can just grab the last coil. Oops, very gently, if it's going to let me. There we go. And just pull a little, like so. What you need is for this last coil to be open enough to fit, you know, your little dangle on, or your earring, whatever it is you're making. Okay, and then squish and push and squish and squish a little bit more. And then if you need to, just tuck this one slightly, like so. All right, so there we go. That's all about just using the control of your fingers and your tools. All right, so again, if you are going to be making these, don't forget to hand them, because you want, well, I mean, you don't want to, but you can if you want, just have the coils going in opposite directions. All right, so this is what we've done here. So the next thing to do is to bring in your plier again, and you want to fit around your plier, you want to fit the coil with the end, this scratchy bit, towards the back. All right, you can file that if you want, you don't need to, but you want to fit around about here so that the end of the coil is almost touching the mandrel of your plier, and bring that around like so. All right, so there we have it. So the next thing you need to do, obviously, just again trim to a particular length, whatever length you like, and put a little lip on it. All right, so you can fettle around with this little bit at the end just to make sure that you can fit your earring drop on it. So how cute are those? Those are really pretty too, aren't they? All right, so that's 8 beautiful decorative little ear wires that will take the place of a very simple, very pretty ear wire. But if you're wanting something a little bit more cute and a little bit something with a bit of flourish on it, then I hope you'll find something of interest here. All right, so thank you for watching as always, and I will see you in my next video, and I hope you have a good week. All right guys, I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.